you all for coming out. Again, I think I know most people here. My name is Scott Binder. I'm the president of the DC chapter. So again, thank you for joining us tonight. This is our second presentation that we've had this month. Last week we actually had another chapter event, which was very successful. And I know our speaker is going to be pretty awesome tonight, so I'm looking forward to that. Couple quick announcements again before I turn it over to our speaker. Number one, I'm going to ask a couple other people here to chime in, and because I want them to share some information with you, which you might be interested in. So the first thing I'm going to do is turn it over to Mark. So Mark just informed me that, and I'm going to let Mark speak about it because he knows a lot more about it than I do, that there might be a movie that you might be interested in that is, I guess, short, being distributed to a short number of movie theaters in the area. But again, I'm going to let Mark speak more about it because he's the one who told me about it tonight.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. My name is Mark Fear. I'm your education VP. And as Scott mentioned last week, we had a Tyrone Wilson came and talked to us, and he's one of our primary vendors for education. So if there's anything you want, find us online. It's a dc.org, and let us know what you want, and we'll try to get it to you. So as Scott said, there's a movie being released Thursday called The Hummingbird Project, and if you've read the book Flash Boys, it was a true story. About 15 years ago, I work at the SEC, and about 15 years ago, some legal-minded folks, nothing against you attorneys in the audience, came up with the idea to force the different exchanges to cooperate in the interest of the investing public, so the lowest bid could be available to the investor. And in theory, it's a great idea, but what some crafty people figured out was some of the exchanges had faster networks than others, and they could shunt quotes and make a lot of money. And that was Flash Boys. And the movie coming out Thursday is called The Hummingbird Project, and it's loosely based on that true story. And of course, I'm going to be there, and it should be a very entertaining movie.
And Mark said that at least the theater here in DC.
East Street. Thursday at 7 p.m. and 9:30 p.m. And there's one in Bethesda as well. So it's a limited release, but it starts Thursday and it's running through all next week as well. So if you just Google The Hummingbird Project, I'm sure you'll find it.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm also going to ask David Jackson over here to briefly talk about, he's actually been published in the ISSA Journal, which is pretty awesome. So if any of you have a topic that you're passionate about, that you want to get some more exposure for yourself, David's been published more than once, so he's got some experience in working with ISSA headquarters and getting published. So it's actually really great for your own resume to have published paper as part of your resume. So David was published in February. That's the latest publication for ISSA that David was published in. You want to just talk briefly about maybe the process and what's involved?
Sure. So what I did was I contacted the editor of ISSA Journal. His name is Tom Berry. And Tom's a great guy, and he's always looking for articles. And I said, hey, I've got an idea. I had spoken at the November meeting, and one of my slides I was talking about sort of what was going on at the state level in terms of the new laws and cybersecurity. And I said, hey, this might be a great article. So I wrote up a little blurb and said, what do you think for the February issue, which is always the legal issue? And he said, great. So I said, okay. And went off and wrote my article and submitted it. And there's a board that reviews it. And there was some, they came back and they said, okay, fix this, answer these questions. Went through and did that. Everything was accepted. And then I just signed a release. The ISSA holds the copyright to the article for the first year. And so we sign a release, and then it gets published in the journal. It's pretty easy, and there always need articles. So on the ISSA website, the main website for under the journal, there's a schedule, and they try to have themes for each month. So February is always the legal month. I think privacy, we were talking a little bit, I think it's in September. And so there'll be things, whatever you're interested in, I'm sure there's a month there that would cover it. And, everybody has an article in there. And it's worth doing. It's great, gives you a chance to kind of put your thoughts on paper. It's about, I usually try to do 2,500 to 3,000 words, which is about 6 pages single spaced. But they take articles of all sizes, and Tom's really a great guy in terms of, as an editor, being open and encouraging. So I highly recommend it.
Really appreciate that. We also have a couple other board members here tonight. Teresa, do you have anything that you'd like to share with the group? So Teresa Allison, she works with our outreach program. She is highly involved in Carnegie Mellon University, as well as other universities in the area as well. Also dealing with the women's program, women in technology, and lots of other groups. Great insight into other things that are going on in the area, conferences, events, wealth of information. I put her on the spot. Sorry about that, Teresa. Is there anything that is upcoming that you're aware of that you'd like to share with the group?
Well, as in my role as VP of Strategic Alliances, I would definitely, if you have any ideas for organizations that we can, kind of work with or partner with, I'd love to hear your ideas. Most recently, I participated as a speaker at the SciCon conference. I did my Developing Your Cyber Career Action Plan, and we also had some ISA presence in terms of being able to reach out to the students and let them know what ISA is through that event. This weekend, I'm going to be doing a talk for XXX. It's a girls STEM program about privacy online. They reached out to me on LinkedIn and asked me if I could come and speak with them. We have our upcoming multi-organizational networking event with the Virginia DC chapters of ISACA. So that's on April 11th. I believe it's at the Holiday Inn in Roslyn, so I would encourage you to go to the ISACA website and sign up to attend that. It's a great event where you can get to network with all sorts of cyber professionals. That's actually how I got involved in this chapter, was talking to Scott at the event and giving him some program ideas that I had been working on and thinking about. So definitely it's a great free drinks, free appetizers.
It's a hoot. It's really fun.
And just a great number of people to network with and talk with and learn about the organization. So I would encourage you to come and be a part of it.
As soon as we get more information, we're also going to post that on our website. I think it's the 10th annual networking event. So we've been a sponsor or a partner for a good number of years now with them. I don't think the official flyer is out yet. At least I haven't seen it. It could be on the ISACA website, but as soon as I get it, we'll post it on our website as well. But you're right, it's an excellent event. It's where I met Dan last year at that event. Thank you so much about that for reminding me. So April 11th, I forget the day of the week that is. But it is a Holiday Inn, the top floor. If you've never been there, you actually, and hopefully it's a great night, like a really pretty night, because it is the top floor and you can see all the way to Georgetown, Washington Monument, glass windows all around. It's,
Thursday.
thank you, Thursday night. So it's visually, it's beautiful. So again, as soon as we get more information, we'll post that on our website. But you do have to RSVP for that. Again, it's free of cost, but you do have to RSVP. Tom, do you have any, before I introduce you, do you have any, Tom's also on our board of directors. He's again responsible for all of our programs here. Do you have
I do
any
not.
information on next month's?
I do not have a speaker for next month yet. I was so busy working on my own speech that I didn't follow up with, Craig was talking about bringing somebody. So it's possible to have a speaker, but I don't know who it is.
Okay.
We will have a speaker. We have a speaker every third Tuesday, so don't worry, don't fret, come, and it'll be something surprising and novel, I promise.
So-
And in May, I'm bringing in people from Twilio. And it's gonna be a joint presentation. I think it's somebody, I wanna say it's somebody from Slack and somebody from Twilio that are gonna talk. So Twilio is this new cloud-based, well, not that new anymore, but it's a cloud-based SMS service that people are using for two-factor authentication and for different sort of multi-factor authentication on mobile devices. And they've made a lot of inroads on security. They're going to talk about sort of how you can use some of their services for that, but of course in a vendor-neutral kind of way. But about how sort of those, as a service type of telecommunications things are disrupting the security industry in both positive and negative ways.
Good. One of the other benefits that I've mentioned in the past, I'm going to bring it up again, is this organization, besides networking, we also try to give back to the community, post any information about jobs on our website. So I just found out, I started a new job with a new company, and I just found out that we're hiring like crazy. So the company's Guidehouse, consultants, broke off from PwC, from its own entity less than a year ago. So if you were in the market and your skill set is IT audit readiness, IT controls, IT audit, I know we're definitely hiring there. Come see me. I can give you more information if you know anybody, or if you yourself are looking for a position. I know they're hiring like crazy. So there's lots of positions on the website. So besides that, that I know specifically about, there's multiple jobs listed out there. So if you are looking or in the market, please come see me. I think we're also going to try to post this on our website. If you work for a company, again, that you know you have positions for, again, please tell me or one of our other board members, pass that information along to us, and we'll put that on our website as well. Anybody have anything that they'd like to share or any questions? All right, then without, I almost forgot, which is probably the most important thing. Here, if you set up a new process, most of you know about this process already, it's a QR code. That's how you get CPE credits. Put your camera up to it, especially if you have an iPhone, it makes it really easy. Take a picture, pulls up a link, hit that link, fill in 4 pieces of information, the date, your name, email address, pretty much, and hit submit. That's how you get your CPE credits. Don't come back later and say, I forgot to do this, because the code is only valid for today. So, sorry, you'll be out of luck if you say tomorrow you email me and say, I forgot to apply for my CPE credits. You're just out of luck. So, we'll put this up in the beginning of each meeting and usually at the end of the meeting as well for some folks that might have come in later. Any questions about that process? Super easy. don't have to worry about reading chicken scratch or email address and making sure that we spell your name correctly. Very simple, great process. We started this in January. It's been working very well for us. Again, the most important person is in the corner here, Alex Pryor, for hosting us here. Can't do this without Alex. Plenty of food back there, so please help yourself. Again, during the presentation, I'm sure Tom won't mind if you go and grab some seconds or thirds, whatever it may be. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce Tom Hallowell. He's been probably a board member of ISSA for over a decade, 12 years, long time. I've actually never heard Tom speak before, so I'm really looking forward to this presentation. So, I guess without further ado, Tom, please take it away.
Hi. Yeah.
Just hit them. Right.
Right. So the first thing you learn in tech is that technical people always fail at tech. So this is called Fail Secure, and I've really sort of put together my favorite rant topics. I've alienated everybody in my professional life, so I figured I'd alienate everybody at ISSA with my unpopular views on security. Now, everybody's heard about all the good stuff and all the right things to do in security, so I thought I'd rant a little bit about the wrong things we do in security. So my disclaimer, of course, security is super important. It's important to me. I'm really passionate about it. That's why I'm doing this speech. Some of my best friends do compliance work, and so it's nothing against the good work that they're doing. It needs to be done. It's the law, and it keeps everybody safe and keeps the lawyers busy. It's tough on the good days, and it just sucks on the bad days. I know, I've done it. There's a lot of work, but so don't hate the play, I hate the game of compliance. My name's Tom Hallowell. I'm a dad. I'm a security person. I've done policy wonkage. I've started and run federal code, secure coding initiatives. Right now, I'm Patch Boy and pushing people around to make them do their patching in a better way, looking at low-hanging fruit and opportunity. And in all of these things, sort of the common thing, the theme that I've found is that there's some collaboration missing and sort of some sensitivity on the part of a lot of security people, where we just don't really connect with the people that we're trying to serve. So that's what this is about. So, and you can flip this. There's no culture clash between us and the people that we're supporting, and you could flip it, maybe we're them and they're, and it could go either way. But there's a lot of, the IT has really changed since I started getting into it, and there's a lot less people that look like me in it. I've become one of the old guys instead of one of the young guys that I was when I started out. And you know, there's more beards and less hair and more dresses and all kinds of things that weren't there, and less pocket protectors, I've noticed. And it's a whole different field. So anyway, sort of just realizing that it's transitioning and changing can just in itself help figure out what's going on with your life there. So the first myth is this is hopeless. That's not true. You go into an engagement and everything's all screwed up and nobody's doing anything right and it's hopeless. No, it's not hopeless. You need to listen to people and collaborate with people, set priorities, explain stuff, support people, and make some connections and help make things right. You don't need permission to do this. People talk about top-down versus bottom-up and everything like that. You have the power to make change in the area that you've been engaged to work on, and go in there and make a difference, and you can do that. I've done it, and you can too. Oops, did I miss one?
Yeah.
I did miss one. All right, let's have a meeting. That's the way we started off, right? You have a 3.5-hour engagement meeting. I don't know this team personally, but I've heard of a team that has an 1.5-hour meeting every week with every team. There's like 30 systems, say, in this hypothetical organization, and every single one of those teams has a 90-minute meeting every week with their security organization to go through one by one each of the findings and resolve them. That seems excessive to me, that in that 1.5 hours, they could actually be fixing the stuff instead of talking about how they're going to fix it. There's a balance here someplace. My suggestion would be to do shorter meetings, and you could consider maybe IMing them the things and then having them IM back, or emailing them a list and having them email you back what their plan is to fix them, and then let them have their day back. They'll love you. If you give somebody back 80 minutes of their day, you'll be a god just by doing that. You can be their hero. So assigning personal blame for deficiencies. This is what I call the no bus rule, is whenever I get together with people, we're really quick to blame people and assign personal blame for things that go wrong. This team did it, or it's the network engineer, or it's the ISO didn't write it down, or the program manager, didn't write the contract right. It's done. There's only one moment that matters, and that's right now. And you have the ability to turn this around and make a change. And people will work with you if you agree not to throw people under the bus every time you find a problem. Then people will start talking to you about the problems, and you can start getting the solutions instead of arguing about fault and blame and things like that. So, and a lot of the time it's because people don't know any better. So if you educate people, train, don't blame. That's my only rhyme I'm going to do today. Though, security should come first. No, mission first. Always mission first. You're here to secure a business. You're not here to comply with anything. If you weren't delivering a product, there wouldn't be anything you needed to comply about. So the first thing is you got to ship. The second thing is you got to ship the best thing that you can. So you need to work within that quality triangle. PMPs and PMPs out there? Project managers? So anyway, there's the quality triangle, right? You can get it good, fast, or cheap. Pick one, or pick two. And anytime you make something faster, you make it cheaper, and you make it more expensive, and that triangle stretches. So that has to balance, in security particularly. And we tend to be perfectionists and make people think that that's the first thing. But the way to make security come first is to be there first. And the way to be there first is for people to trust you and want to collaborate with you, and to not be going in there as a cop. Necessarily, the cop piece comes in at times, but if you come in creating a bunch of constraints on people, a lot of the time they'll tend to work around you. And you end up with the opposite effect, to where they don't let you in at the early meetings, and you don't get to really make a difference and bake the security in, as it were, rather than bolting it on. So, management will side with the business almost every time. And so if you go run into mom or dad about, they don't want to play in our sandbox, then usually mom or dad is going to side with the business, because their mission is to deliver. And those stakeholders don't care about security. They care about the customer. They care about the mission, and they care about putting out a good product. One of the coolest sort of angles that I've found as a person who engages with teams on security a lot is to talk about security as a quality issue. That fundamentally, if you're putting out quality code, you don't have security issues. If you've got quality configuration on your network, on your firewalls, then you don't have holes in it. You don't have overly permissive rules. If you have quality in your onboarding and offboarding process, you don't have orphan and widow accounts. If you have quality account management, you have good alignment and you don't have excessive permissions on people. So if you frame it as a quality issue, people take pride in their work and they will stand up to it. So understand and speak their language and frame it in things that they understand. Talk about mission, talk about cost, talk about on-time delivery, talk about quality, and they'll start understanding your language. Oops, this is quick. All right, cybersecurity as an HR tool. So, I don't know how many people are involved in the incident response piece, but it seems to me like an overly large proportion of our forensics capability is wasted on busting people for going to sites they shouldn't go to, which I guess is okay, but that's not what we got funded for. We got funded to stop, the Belgians from hacking our systems, and instead we're using it to catch Susie, shopping on work time, or people sending personal emails or something, which again is okay, but if you use your security stuff as an HR tool, then people are not going to be forthcoming about what's going on, especially if you use it, say, static code analysis or configuration management, vulnerability management stuff. If you use those reports as a way of dinging people and as a way of getting people out of the organization or getting them in trouble or sending them to new training, they're just going to stop telling you the truth and make it hard for you to start stonewalling you when you're trying to engage. If you're trying to engage in an environment of trust and respect, then you treat people with trust and respect, and I think you'll find that you get it back. So transparency works both ways. If you want people to be forthcoming with you, then you got to do it back, or maybe you have to lead with a transparent foot. How many people, if you're in an engagement and you're trying to find something out about a system, how many of you ask the people that work on the system about it instead of trying to black box it? I know so many people that don't, and they act as though the person who owns the system, the people who work on the system, are the enemy. And they're like some kind of red team sneaking around doing this stealth thing, trying to figure out where the database tables are. It's like, all you got to do, you work on the same team, you're securing the same system, you're getting paid with the same money. Ask them. Don't act like you're super spy. This is you helping both of you are helping your organization produce a more secure product. So again, operate from a position of mutual benefit. Everybody benefits if you do that, and people waste a lot of time black boxing things that are right there in the open. They failed the test. No, they didn't. We failed the test. It's our product. If somebody doesn't know the answers, this isn't a closed book test. Security is an open book test. When you work with your teams, you're trying to give them the answers so that they can pass the security test. You don't want them to fail. I know it, and that mindset is really hard as an auditor to get rid of, because you feel like you've done a good thing when you find something wrong with the system. But the thing to do, may I suggest turning that mindset around and thinking of it as the finding something wrong is just an opening to helping make something better about a system. And that's what we're trying to get to by auditing things. We're not trying to find holes. We're trying to identify areas for improvement and help the teams do it. And so we feed them the answers. Like, we want them to cheat on the test. We want them to have the answers. So we give them the answers. We feed them the answers. We help them get to good so that we can have a secure product. Words matter. Don't call things deficiencies. If you call them findings, then it's something that you can talk about and decide whether it's a false positive or a false negative. So much of the time, you end up fighting about the semantics. Well, it's not really a finding. It's an itty bitty. It's a bug. No, it's not a bug. Like, people take pride in their work, and just think about that beautiful painting that you did at home or something. And did somebody, you know, if somebody, you're sensitive about it. It's like your kid or something, and people call it, you know, it's not defective or you know, defects and deficiencies and flaws and things like that. People don't want to hear that. If you just reframe that, people will be a lot more receptive to your suggestions for improvement. I'm not even going to say anything about this. Just CYA and make sure you have your TCP plan and your ISSO gets the SSP together in a timely manner, PDQ, because it's you know, you're gonna miss out on the NIST 18642, and don't use the jargon. People don't understand it. I get really defensive when people use jargon on me, and devs have tons of jargon and they completely can baffle you with it, as can anybody, because it's its own language. So, you know, again, if we talk about downtime, loss of revenue, and quality related things, schedule delays, they'll understand what we're talking about. They don't need to understand the grassroots weeds level of what we need to do. They need to know what's wrong and how to fix it. This is another collaboration one. It's the system owner's job to figure out how to resolve findings. So we find stuff. It's my job. There was Kelly's Heroes. Is anybody old enough to remember that movie? So there was a thing in there where there's a broken tank, and Donald Sutherland goes, I don't fix tanks, I just drive them. And so we have to help somebody fix the tanks, or else we're not going to have anything to shoot at the Germans. I don't know what Germans here, I know. But so the idea is that as you know, devs and admins and the people in the business, system owners and stuff, no hablan seguridad. So we have to help them understand what's going on, hold their hands, you know, so like the great hunter, you know, like let's tie a couple antelopes to a stake for them, and you know, the mighty hunters can go and can get some kills and get a couple of get some confidence under their belt, because people don't know how to fix stuff. So if you help them fix some stuff, and I think that honestly, that's a rule about complaining, right? Is you're not allowed to complain about anything unless you have a solution. Well, it should be the same thing. You're not allowed to find anything if you can't help somebody get to a solution. Otherwise, it's unsolvable. And so I would posit, try helping people fix stuff. And if you teach them how to crawl, they'll start to walk on their own, because it's boring to crawl. And pretty soon you'll be building maturity, because you're bringing expertise in and helping basically mentor people whose first job isn't security, wasn't security, they weren't hired to do that, but helping mature them into